Other game here in the Metacritic roundup is Gotham Knights. On PS5, it has a 69. Awesome. On Xbox Series X, a 68, and PC, a 66. Justin, I have played a fair amount of Gotham Knights for work, and I have many thoughts on it.
So would you say your thoughts are in line with these Metacritic scores?
Yeah, I would probably give this a 6 out of 10 or a 5 maybe. It's people are like taking Gotham Knights into the street and like kicking it to death and inviting their friends to come over and start kicking too. It is not that bad. Take that as the statement it is.
Bare minimum.
It is not that bad. It is. Yeah. It's fine. It is. I think it would have been a really good game in like 2008 or 2009. I think the biggest problem with this game is that it's not an Arkham game and it's not developed by who makes it? Rocksteady? Yeah. It's not made by them. It's WB Montreal. And this game looks like an Arkham game. It has characters similar to the Gotham games, but because it invites that comparison, it fails at pretty much every level to meet those. Like everything that those games did really well, this game attempts to do, but just doesn't quite hit the same peaks of it. And it also suffers from some like bad design in a few different areas and stuff like that. And so it just comes across as just not feeling like fully all there. But I don't know. I've seen people, like I said, I've seen people just like hating on this thing. And I think if you're a Batman fan, don't buy this at full price, but wait until it's $30 or so and play it, and you'll have a fine time with it.
So, like, what's your background with the Gotham games?
Like the Arkham games? I played the original one when it came out. I really liked Arkham City. I think that's where I stopped, though. I didn't try Arkham Knight or Arkham Origins.
Did you like what you played of that game or?
I loved them. I'm not really a Batman person or even really a DC person. Like, I know them. I really like the Dark Knight movie, but not necessarily for Batman explicitly. I think it's just like a good movie, you know?
Yeah.
I saw the Justice League movie when it came out with you.
It was great, man. 10 out of 10. Would recommend seeing it in that theater.
Let me say, that's what it is, right? Like, it was a good time, but that's also like a loaded sentence. It was a good, we had a good time, but not maybe because we loved the movie. But like, I don't know. It is. I really liked those games from what I played of them, the first two at least. And this, I think, wants to be those really bad, but it's just not up to snuff. Its combat is really flighty and doesn't feel super like. It doesn't feel very like its combat just doesn't feel like super solid. You're sliding around everywhere. The enemies are sliding around everywhere. Their attacks are really basic and telegraphed. The enemy types aren't that interesting. The combat is really simple and it doesn't have the flashiness that the Arkham games had. They kind of, I don't know if they pioneered this, but they certainly, I think, popularized that whole like, you're doing light attacks and heavy attacks, and then when someone's going to come and punch you, you hit the counter button, and then you do like a kind of cool finisher on them, or there's like an interesting animation that plays or whatever. And this game just doesn't have a counter button. It just has a dodge button. So like you dodge it out of the way, and then you can do a follow-up attack, but it's the same follow-up attack every single time, So it just doesn't like. The combat, which I think is the main appeal of this sort of thing, just doesn't feel super like thought out or good or like it doesn't feel done. It feels like this game feels like a good start to a game. This feels like I played a preview of a game that's coming out in like a year. Similarly, like there's just a lot of baffling like design choices apart from that. You pick from one of the 4 Batlings, By the way, we were talking about this last week, and my roommate, Josh, who is a very big Batman fan, was like saying, like, it was so funny hearing you guys try and figure out who the fuck Robin is. who their name, because like Jason Todd is, I think, someone we brought up, and he's Red Hood. But like, I don't know.
But he was Robin, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Josh, tweet at us once you hear this. Tweet at us. Let us know. Tell us. Break down that web. Tell us.
Josh, make a Twitter account and then tweet us. Yeah, but like, so you pick one of the 4 Bat family people, Bat kids, Bat children, the characters. Like you've got Robin, you've got Nightwing, you've got Batgirl, and you've got Red Hood, and like that's cool. You can switch out between them at any time, but you level them up all individually. So I picked Batgirl at the start, and then I've just been playing her because I realized like, oh, if I want to try Nightwing, like I can, but I'm not going to be leveled up enough to play the main missions or to do like the side quests I want to do. I would have to like go and grind to get the character up to snuff to be able to engage with that sort of stuff. And it just doesn't sound good. Similarly, like because you have to level them up all individually, like you don't have a shared skill tree or anything like that because each of the characters plays like mostly the same, but they have slightly different abilities. Like when you get new skills as Batgirl, you don't also have new skills as Jason Todd, whichever character that is. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just one of those things that like, if you want to play multiple characters, you are going to have to put in a significant amount of work. And a lot of the side quests and like challenges that they provide to you are very grindy. It's just, it is a game that doesn't feel like it was designed really for, single players. I've seen a lot of people saying like, it feels as if they looked at like the Avengers, like the Avengers game, which you just love.
Best game
and
ever. Game of the year.
It.
Game of the year. In 2008.
Yeah, well, like that's the thing, right? It looks like it feels like this game was meant to be a live service game with the way that like you craft like upgrades and like you have new armor and gear like pretty frequently. And like, you know, you're grinding for these challenges and like doing these like what almost feel like MMO type busy work. But I think that it feels like they saw what happened with that and said like, oh, well, if this launches poorly, like it's not going to be a good idea. So they just cut all that out, but didn't like change like the actual design of the game around it, you know? So there you go.
We talked
Gotham
last week
Knights.
about the 30 frames per second. What is the actual like performance of this game? Does it run well? Is it broken? Anything weird about it?
It's not great. I mean, it doesn't run great. I mean, it's one of those things, right? Like I can tell the difference between 30 frames and 60 frames. I think I think I said this last week that people are overreacting about this. 60 frames is ideal, right? I would love to play every video game in 60 frames per second. That's just, it feels really good to play in my opinion. It's just what I really like. You start this game up and you go, oh, this is 30 frames. And then you just play the game. Like Batman Arkham Asylum, I assume was 30 frames. It was on the fucking Xbox 360. Like, I'm assuming that like if you're playing this game, you're buying this game, you've played a game in 30 frames per second before. Unfortunately, it doesn't look good enough for them to be able to say like, well, we wanted to really make it look good. And so that is, you know, hindering the actual performance. But like, yeah, it's the performance is fine. I haven't had any like huge bugs or anything. Just the regular slew of open world stuff, you know.
Is the frame rate consistently 30 or does it drop below that?
It struggles. I haven't had it like really chugging, but like you can tell when like things, you have a second where you're like, oh, and then it's like back to normal. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
Okay, we're all good. Are we all cool? Is everything fine? Like, are you sick, PlayStation? And it's for what it's worth, I'm playing this on the PS5. Not that I've heard that the Xbox versions have had any different performances or anything like that, but I tend to, if I'm going to play a game that I think is going to be a little bit more technically demanding, I tend to play those on Xbox, but it just worked out that I was doing this on PS5. But
well, and I mean, any consolation, that's the highest Metascore on the PS5 for whatever that means.
Oh yeah, by a single point, or from Xbox, then
I mean,
PC.
In the case of this number, an important point. You know what I mean?
A very important 69. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you like Batman and you want to just play a Batman game and don't really care about it being the best Batman game, give this a shot. Like, I think $70 for me, in my opinion, is a little in my life. I would not pay $70 for this. But also, I'm not a Batman fan. I would not have bought this regardless, you know. But I can imagine like the only reality really where I see myself buying this, like where I would have bought this if it wasn't for work, is if my friends were like, "Hey, we want to play this game." The other unfortunate thing is there's only 2-player co-op right now. They said within the next month they're gonna give a free update to incorporate 4-player co-op. But I have a theory. The reason it's only 2-player co-op is because they couldn't figure out how to get it to work 4-player and not just kill like tank. And I think that I will be curious to see if that comes, and if it does, like how it's going to perform from then on out. But
I'm still interested to play this game, but I think you're right. I think this is like a wait for a sale kind of game. I enjoyed all the other Arkham games, and I think that while this one's clearly not an Arkham game, it still has that DC Batman universe that I love so much in it. Your face though scares me.
I don't know. Like, I guess like I'm just not a DC person, so I can't really like I would not be able to speak to like if this is a good DC story or not. Like, let me say this: they talked about when they announced like, hey, the reason this is going to be 30 frames per second, whatever. They were like they tried to like brace everyone by saying like, well, there is going to be ray tracing support, which I don't know about all that. It's not a very good looking game. Like the environments look pretty good, but like the character models look a little like early Xbox One, where it's like it looks okay. Like they probably could stand next to like the Gears of War people and like look good, but like I don't know about all that in terms of like the graphical fidelity being what was the cause of that. But they also said like in order to be able to deliver this rich, detailed world. And Justin, there's nothing in it. There's like 80 people in all of Gotham City.
Hey,
there's
you only
like
need
cars
80
driving
people
around.
to have a party. There's cars?
But it's one of those. Yeah, there's like cars driving around.
Can you hijack them? Get in there?
No, but you do have the Bat Cycle, and you can drive around, and that's kind of fun, I guess. But like, I felt like with something like Spider-Man, the PS4 game, like. Yeah, there were like a lot of crimes happening all at once in the city, but like you could go places and like see people doing stuff, and like the different areas of the city sort of felt different. Like you go to like Central Park and go like, oh, the people are doing like park stuff, or you go to the busier spots like Times Square and whatever and see all that sort of stuff. Whereas this, like, first of all the places do feel the same. It's broken up into different like districts and like boroughs, but like they're all ostensibly the exact same thing. And the NPCs there, like there's just not that many. And then the most like you're going to be encountering bad guys the most. And so it just feels like it's just a city where the only thing that happens is crimes. and like, I don't know if maybe that's true to Gotham City and like comics and stuff. I'm not super familiar, but like, it just does not feel like a place where real people live, or like you've got cars driving around and you don't feel like they're going anywhere because there's just no place to be because it's all just miserable. And it's just like crimes all the time forever. So Gotham Knights. More thoughts on our bonus show for exclusive for deluxe Patreon producers later today.